What's up, everyone? Welcome back to 1-2 Punch. I am your host, Zorine. We're here to talk about fighting games. This is episode 6. For everyone who's listened in before, welcome back. I'm very glad to have you back. And for those who are new to the show, welcome, and I hope you enjoy your stay. As I mentioned, I'm your host, Zorine. This is 1-2 Punch, a show about fighting games where we pretty much talk about everything to do with fighting games and what's happening in the scene, in the fighting game community, etc., etc. As usual, I welcome all feedback. If you have Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter. That's at Zorine, at Zorine. And you can tweet using the 1-2 Punch hashtag. We have a hashtag. It's hashtag 1-2 Punch. That's the numbers. 12 Punch. You can also follow us, Esports Network, on Twitter. We're just at Esports Network. No spaces, no dashes, no nothing in between. Just Esports Network, pure esports. So, as usual, I'm going to start us off by talking about what sort of news we're covering today. But I'm also very, very excited to say that we have a guest coming on later. I'm not going to reveal who he is yet, but he is got a lot to do with the Marvel vs. Capcom scene, so I think we'll have a lot to talk about there. Really keen to get his thoughts on what's been happening in that scene, or should I say, the lack thereof. But on to the news for today. So in the latest Street Fighter related news, Capcom revealed a new Blanka trailer. That is right. The Green Beast and his electrical attacks are back, and he looks hairier than ever, I have to say. His new design, like, he's still green. Don't worry if you haven't seen it. He's still green. You know, he's got his like orange reddish hair or whatever, and he's got like hair everywhere, like on his arms, on his chest, like it's really, really long hair. So the trailer that they released showcased his move list, and a lot of his attacks looked very like rushdown heavy, like very reminiscent of the Blanka that you probably know and love from previous games. And he's kind of back, which is kind of interesting to me. I almost thought that Laura filled that whole role when she was brought into the game of, you know, they're both from Brazil, they're both green, and they both use electrical attacks. You know, I just feel like that was kind of Anyway, that was the intention with Laura, so it's interesting to see he's back. But check out his trailer if you haven't already. It showcased both of his V-triggers, and the properties of the V-triggers, they kind of act as like, I guess they kind of act as supers, both of them. So like he doesn't like get any like attack property changing moves or anything by activating his V-trigger. He just starts dishing out like a lot of damage in like in a combo type thing. So his move list is also out on the Capcom Fighters Network, so that's there as well, and his stats are also published there. So his stats are kind of middle ground, like his health and stun meter, both middle, kind of very, very like well-balanced all-rounder type of character, I would say. So that's probably the next thing we can look forward to. Of course, the Capcom's Street Fighter V Season 3 is well underway now. You know, Sakura's out. We still have a whole bunch of characters to look forward to, like Falk and Cody, and I forget off the top of my head G, who else there is. But it's well underway, and the Blanka thing honestly kind of caught me by surprise. But one thing I will say that everyone is talking about right now is his story costume. If you haven't seen it, Blanka's story costume, it is adorable. That is the best way I can put it. It's super goofy. It's like a big Gumby costume of himself. It's like this really goofy, dorky looking Blanka costume that he has decided to don. So it's like Blanka inside of Blanka. It's very strange, but it's also adorable. And I think like beating people with that costume would be like even more hilarious. I hope we see that costume in tournament play because it looks hilariously goofy. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a nice touch, I think, to have that in there. Anyway, if you want to check him out for yourself, Blanka is out on February 20th, so we have just under a week to go. And if you're listening to this live, by the way, everyone, happy Valentine's Day. Today is indeed Valentine's Day. I wish I had some cool, funny Valentine's poems to share with you, but unfortunately I do not. But I'm sure all the brands for all the different fighting games out there have put some cool cards out. I don't know. I think it'll be really funny to check those out. So happy Valentine's Day. Yeah, just wanted to quickly acknowledge that. Next bit of news. So the NorCal Strong Style tournament occurred over the weekend. It ran February 10th to 11th. This is a dedicated Tekken tournament. If you are unaware, NorCal Strong Style, it is the first return of NorCal Strong Style for over a few years. I think the last one was held back in 2014. There were over 230 entrants, which is quite strong for a tournament that's dedicated solely to Tekken. Great turnout. It was hosted in San Jose. And I think overall, that tournament is a really great example of the grassroots style FGC events that a lot of us had grown up on and come to know and love. So really cool to see that go down, and really enjoyed watching what I could of that over the weekend. Shouts to Bronson Tran and all the folks at Strong Style for putting on a fantastic show. It was live streamed this year, so if you want, you can check out all the matches there on YouTube. They're probably on the Twitch Strong Style archive. I know in the past, Bronson Tran's not put up a stream, or Strong Style hasn't put up a stream just because they wanted to keep the tournament focused on the player experience and the grassroots, but really glad that they decided to put on a stream this time because I could watch the matches and enjoy some quality Tekken, as it were. So let's go over the results. Top 8, we had Jack Killer Bancho placed equal 7th with Shadow 20Z. I know Shadow's a relative newcomer. Really great to see him put in work and place so highly at this tournament, because there was quite a lot of international representation at Strong Style. You know, we had the best Tekken players in the world come out. JDCR, Saint from Echo Fox were both there. And, of course, the Americans showing up as well. I think John Ding was also there. So that was equal 7th, Shadow 20Z and Jack Killer Bancho. 5th place, equal 5th place, we had Trungi and BKC in equal 5th place. And in 4th place, we had Rickstar representing the West Coast boys. Top 3 was really fun to watch. In 3rd place, we had Peeling, or Princess Ling, as you know. He put on a really great show, did really well. In 2nd place, we had the American hero, Jimmy J. Tran, bringing out the Brian Fury. He was there. And in 1st place, of course, the unstoppable force, JDCR, Echo Fox JDCR. Grand final was, it was interesting. Jimmy J. Tran put on a fantastic show, but JDCR is just too strong of a Tekken player, and just this showing up why he deserves to be on Echo Fox. Well done to everyone who participated. And just a side note there, if you're wondering where Saint was, he placed equal 9th. He actually fell to Shadow 20Z and American hero Jimmy J. Tran, so interesting that we're seeing, more American players show up to these tournaments, which is great. I think that's fantastic to see. And, I'm actually quite pleased with how it turned out. And maybe it'll showcase changing times that we're going to get at EVO this year. EVO 2018, baby. It's going to be hype for Tekken. I can't wait. Really looking forward to seeing what happens there. Just a reminder also for other upcoming tournaments that we have. We have the NorCal Regionals, which is happening in March 30th to April 1st in Sacramento, California. NCR is a pretty big tournament. All the major games are going to be there. So if you want to enter, make sure you get your registrations in early, because, we're mid-February now. The time's just going to keep on flying. It's crazy. And then before you know it, EVO is going to be upon us, which is crazy. But yes, NCR is happening. So that's end of March to the 1st of April. Make sure to get your entries in if you're planning to attend that. And then, of course, we have a Combo Breaker, which is May 25th to 27th. That's happening in Illinois, in USA. It's at the Mega Center. Combo Breaker is a big tournament. I know it's one of the, like a lot of people talk about. I personally have not been. I really want to make it out. Hopefully I get to go to this one. But I know it's one of the biggest tournaments in the US, of course, outside of EVO. It's a big deal. A lot of big players show up to it. A lot of international players show up to it as well. So hopefully we'll see another big turnout for Combo Breaker this year. And hopefully I get to go along as well. That'd be really fun. And if there are any other tournaments that you would like to highlight it or to talk about, make sure to tweet at us with the hashtag #12punch. But outside of that, these are the things to look forward to. Now, I did also want to quickly remind people that EVO is taking applications for commentators this year as well, and that opens up on February 15th. So if you're listening to this live, that is tomorrow. Thursday, and once that opens up, people can submit their applications and their reels in. I know people have been tweeting to not quickly, but just please keep your reels, your video reels or your commentary reels or something updated. And if you are completely new and you don't have existing, reels that you can show, then I would just say, like, get matches, record yourself talking over them to showcase your commentary. I think it's, about time we get some new blood in the scene, and I think it'll be great if that happens. So hopefully that encourages new people to come in and show up and do their thing on commentary. Really, really hoping to see that at EVO. And I think Combo Breaker is also opening up applications for commentators as well, similar thing. So brush up your reels, get some practice in, just do it in your bedroom, get some games, get in front of the mic, talk about video games, and record yourself, cut together a really simple video. You can even use Windows Movie Maker if you want, like the OG default stuff. It doesn't have to be super fancy. Let your skills do the talking is what I would say. So yes, really exciting times. Looking forward to that tournament as well. Just a side note, we know that Capcom is going to release notes for CPT or will make their big announcements for CPT quite soon, next week, February 19th. And we can hopefully look forward to more news and details from there. Really curious to see what they say about Street Fighter, but also really curious if they're going to say anything at all about Marvel vs. Capcom, especially after, the whole debacle last week of MVCI not being included at EVO 2018, which I think was very disappointing to a lot of people, and a huge shock as well to a lot of people. I think, I talked about this at length last week, but I also just wanted to brush upon it quickly this week, that I think it's interesting to see that game be so quickly just not abandoned, but kind of pushed to the side, I want to say, especially so soon after it was released. And just that, even from Capcom's side, even they're the ones who made the game, and they're the ones who've kind of just put it aside for now. So that's really interesting to see. And I know people will express surprise that BlazBlue's Cross Tag Battle made it in over MVCI, but honestly, are you? That game, it's got such a hype leading up to it. It's got a track record of great development from Arc System Works. There's a lot to look forward to there, and it's got the IP behind it as well. And I know that you could arguably have said all those things about MVCI, but MVCI is out already, and it didn't traffic as well as people had hoped. So interesting times ahead for the Marvel scene. My heart does go out to the Marvel players. I know what it's like to feel like that your game is being just pushed aside. As a Tekken player for the longest time, we did not get a lot of love for a very long time, and I know what it feels like. So my heart goes out to you guys, and I really hope you work really hard to keep that scene alive and keep it kicking, because that's ultimately what gets the scene. That's where the scene's blood is drawn from, and I think that's one of the reasons why Tekken is so successful now. It's because the scene kept at it, kept pushing at it, and kept giving that game love in their own way, and fueling it just from the community side. So, that's just the way I see it. But interesting that Capcom has chosen to continue giving support to other games and not MVCI. So Lots to talk about there, and I will talk about that more with our guest coming up. So hopefully, hopefully you're all looking forward to that as much as I am. Very excited to have our first guest on the show, by the way. Like, it just won't be me talking endlessly for like an hour for once. Sorry, everyone. But no. And as usual, want to hear all your feedback, so let me know what you thought about every episode. I read all the comments, and if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks very much. Don't forget, we are on multiple platforms as well. So we're on like iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. You can sub to us on YouTube as well if you want to watch it. There is a video component to this. And if you're watching it here on YouTube, then hi, everyone. I'm waving to the camera now. But yes, very soon our guest will be coming on. I will very, very quickly introduce him. We have the Supernoon. Wonderful, wonderful guy, Steve, who is also a fantastic Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite player. So he'll be joining us shortly after the break. And we're going to talk more about the Marvel scene and where we think it's going to go from here on out. So that'll be interesting, and really looking forward to hearing his thoughts about everything that's been happening lately. A lot of controversy, I think. I am your host, Zorine. We're going to talk about some Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Really exciting stuff. And I'm also really excited to introduce our first ever guest to this series, the Supernoon. Hello, Supernoon. How you doing?
Yeah. I'm doing good, Zorine. What about you?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really excited to have you here, man.
Yeah, no problem. Excited to be here.
Cool. Well, also, I just wanted to quickly say congratulations. You won the MVCI tournament at Genesis recently, which is awesome. And big props to you, man.
Yeah, thanks.
How was it? Because that was in Oakland, right?
Yeah, it was in Oakland. It was a pretty weird atmosphere, I gotta say. It's pretty weird being
really?
at like a big Marvel tournament, but at like an even bigger Smash event, you know? Right.
Yeah, because Genesis has historically been a Smash event. I was actually really surprised to hear that Marvel was actually being hosted there. That seemed kind of random, almost. I want to say.
Yeah, it kind of was, but it was still fun. Got to hang out with all the NorCal homies and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, since you are the MVCI expert, or like the Marvel expert, I thought it'd be great to have you on the show to talk about, I guess, a couple of things that have been happening in the Marvel scene lately. I think the biggest thing that people are talking about right now is the EVO 2018 announcement, where they announced the lineup of games, and Marvel wasn't on that list of games, the main games that they announced. Firstly, is that surprising to you?
I want to say yes and no, sort of at the same time. But coming into it when Marvel dropped this year or last year, I would say we're all everyone who was really dedicated to 3. We expected a lot of big things for Marvel Infinite, and this was actually we expected a lot, so much opportunity from Infinite, and we all went in super hard, but it not being at EVO kind of wasn't expected until I would say after Battle of the Stones, when a lot of stuff just started looking bad from Capcom side and the community side and stuff. So as the EVO announcement date got closer, it wasn't too surprising to some of us, but I would say it's overall still very shocking that it's not part of EVO.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy because Marvel was such an integral part of EVO. To go from Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom, to go from UMVC 3 to this, it's man, what happened? What happened?
Yeah, it's when a lot of people think of EVO, or when you just see a random EVO compilation or whatever, it's just hype because there's just so many random Marvel clips, right? Or
yes.
You just see people going crazy and it's Marvel heads, So it's just gonna be weird. I mean, Marvel's gonna have a presence there, but it's not it's not before, how it's gonna be on the main stage and there's gonna be hundreds of people going wild, like past years. But I don't know. It's going to be very weird this year at Evo to see how it all pans out.
Yeah, I mean, going back to what you mentioned, Battle of the Stones. Firstly, what did you think about how Capcom ran that, I guess, league or like tournament series throughout the year last year?
Honestly, when they announced it, it was the week of the game coming out, and that was it was very shocking. Honestly, none of us were like I said earlier, like we were all expecting things, but like we were not ready for that announcement. We were all shocked, especially with SCR being like the first big tournament, and then it also being a Battle of the Stones tournament. We were all like, "This is kind of rushed, This is really crazy." And then all the we like me personally, I thought it was very rushed. Like it just seemed like they wanted to push like MVCI Esports way too fast.
I mean, I almost would have been happy about that. Like, I guess from my point of view, coming from like, Tekken, which is a game that also for a long time didn't receive a lot of love. To me, to have like a tournament series like announced, like I would have been shocked too, but also kind of surprised in a good way, I guess.
Yeah.
How I would have been like.
Yeah, I would say it was like a good surprise. Not really like a kind of like a shock, like, oh no, like what is this, But we were happy that coming from Marvel 3 especially, where it barely got any support, it's a nothing. Whereas like, okay, like now we have our shot, But I would say, kind of reflecting on it after all this happened, after like all of it went down, that it was just very rushed, and there wasn't enough time. I felt like with time, and if like it wasn't as rushed, and they didn't expect so many things for Marvel Infinite to just happen on the competitive side, it would be a lot better than what it is now,
Okay, that's interesting. So if you think they took more time with the league or the tournament side itself, that it would have been better for it in the end?
Yeah, I do, because I feel like just competitively, the game's in a different place now than it was before or during Battle of the Stones. And I feel like it would have just been better to watch not really better to watch, but better for this like league to start maybe like a month or two after the game dropped rather than the week of release. Whereas like there's not like the game really hasn't developed as much,
Yeah, I guess the other thing to think about is also like a lot of pro players, and I don't know how much you know about this, but I heard a lot of pro players got access to like the early copies or like a beta before before it was actually released, and some of them still entered tournaments, where some other guys like, Justin Wong was like, no, I'm not going to enter the tournament because he has like the unfair advantage or whatever. Yeah,
I mean, I don't really know much about that, to be honest with you, like early copies and stuff like that. But I mean, I guess if it was really like rule breaking, I guess on the competitive side to Capcom and like whatever kind of jurisdiction they have going on with like the league and rules and stuff, I guess they wouldn't have given these players early copies. But I guess it seemed okay with their judgment to kind of market the game like that through pro players playing it early, Right,
yeah, that's true. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on the current state of the Marvel community, based on what's been happening like in the scene lately and just the competitive play and level and like who's putting in time and who's not. Do you think the scene's like in a okay state now, or what do you think about that?
I would say the scene right now is, I'd say it's kind of fractured in a way. Just sort of from how like Capcom's treating the game, whereas like right now it seems like it doesn't have a lot of support from Capcom's end, just because they haven't really talked about it, at all. And then also the whole it not being at Evo kind of like demotivates a lot of people, I guess you could say. Yeah. And then since the game's release, there's also been like the crowd of people who didn't want to move on from Marvel 3 just because like they played Infinite and like they didn't like how it felt, or like they couldn't accept that like this new game like didn't cater to them, you know? So like I'd say it's very fractured, because right now like I guess like all over Twitter and just like people I know too, especially after the Evo announcement, a lot of people were just like, why don't we just play Marvel 3? Like, why play Infinite? You know?
Oh my gosh,
So
that's so
it's kind of
sad.
like, yeah, it's really confusing, and it's just kind of like, you know, like for me as a competitor, you know, like I put in a lot of work, and I kind of don't understand that like mindset where people don't want to put in the work to get better at whatever they're doing, you know? And it's like they'd rather just go back to what they know or what they've been doing for like 7 years, I guess, with Marvel 3.
Yeah, that's so weird. To me, it's almost like going backwards, you know? Like,
Yeah,
I don't
like,
know.
yeah, I mean, the game hasn't even been out for a year, and they already kind of want to give up on it, which to me actually makes no sense, you know? Like, there's still a lot of community support going on with Infinite. Like, there may not be developer support, but at least the game has a pretty healthy scene with like a lot of people playing it. So to me, that's pretty much all a game needs to stay like healthy and to have a presence at any sort of tournament. Because with Marvel, there's always going to be people playing Marvel regardless of which one it is, honestly. But it just needs the players and the people who love it and love watching it to just keep supporting it rather than just like bashing on it and just saying like negative things about it, you know?
No, yeah, I totally agree. Like, I feel like I've seen more people be negative about it than positive, and at the end of the day, like, you're right. And I think people also forget that the FGC survived for a long time without developer support, you know? Like, for a long time, there was no publishers putting in money into the scene or supporting it or supporting events, and it was just all community driven. So I think ultimately, you know, the Marvel community needs to just get together and keep doing what they're doing. But like you said, if it's as fractured as it seems right now, like, I don't know if the game is going to survive for another year. Like, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think Marvel Infinite will be okay, honestly. I just think right now they're just pretty salty and just like bitter for their own reasons, you know? But I think the game in the long run, people will still play it. I honestly don't think that there will not be anyone playing this game, you know? There will always be like a tournament. There will always be like a big tournament. Like, for instance, like later this year, there's Undefeated in Arizona, hosted by Angelic, and that's always been like a giant Marvel event for just like everyone, because like people from all over the country fly out to that event. So it is just like kind of like a center for Marvel. Same thing with another tournament like Pasadena Regionals here in Los Angeles, right? My friend Mark, he actually hosts that tournament, and throughout the years, it's like nothing but top players just gathering from. It started in his garage. It was just like 40 people, you know, just playing in his garage. And then like throughout the years, last year was at a ballroom, and then this year it's in an even bigger ballroom, right? So it's just like, I think the game will be okay as long as there's just people who support it. Like, it just needs that support, and I think it'll be okay. There'll always be the big tournaments for it, and then it'll pay off for the people who put in work and who still are dedicated to the game.
That's awesome. I think that's really awesome. Like, all those examples you listed are great things to remember and to keep thinking about as well. Do you think, or do you hope that Capcom will announce a Battle of the Stones or some sort of similar league for MVCI this year?
Yeah, I do hope that there is some sort of, you know, pro league for Marvel, but at the same time, I don't have my hopes very high for it. But I just hope that they don't like kind of dumpster the game or like throw it away or like sweep it under the rug. I just hope that they just keep supporting it, whether it be through like balance updates or DLC. You know, just as long as there's talk about the game from the developer, I think that would be good news to the community at any point.
Yeah, I think something's better than nothing, right? Like so far, we really haven't heard much from them.
Yeah, like when they recently announced like the CPT dates and like stuff like that, they only mentioned Street Fighter, you know, and then
Yeah.
there's just like no mention of Marvel at all. So like I really don't understand what's happening. But I guess only time will tell what's going on, you know.
Yeah. Well, public reception to Battle of the Stones last year, I think, was kind of mixed. You know, I know the finals were at PlayStation Experience. It was like a big deal, a very flash event. The trophy was awesome.
Yeah, I
all
was
that
actually
stuff.
there.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. What did you
Yeah.
think about the event that they put on for it?
I thought it was I thought it was kind of weird in the way that it was I thought it was pretty weird in the like just the format of how they, you know, did everything. It seemed pretty weird, and then also having like the stone gimmick to the tournament
Yeah.
kind of
That was
changed a lot of
interesting.
things. Yeah, that was pretty interesting for such a giant like prize pool. For Marvel, I would say it's giant. It's compared to Street Fighter, you know. But to be playing, I guess, for like those stakes, but then to have those like little gimmicks come out, you know, it was pretty crazy to watch that all happen and just change the tournament. But I thought overall it was a really good show as someone who was spectating. As for I don't really know how like the stream like took it, but being there in person, I'd say it was a pretty cool experience. And the finals were really good too. I just don't know why they chose to do the finals on like the last day, you know, but it kind of made sense to put it on the main stage. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's still pretty weird to just like segregate like the finals and stuff like that completely from like on a whole other day.
Yeah, I would say that was probably like, I don't know, like logistics or planning constraints that they had to work with. But yeah, like I watched the stream on the finals day, and they had the stage, and it looked pretty cool. And I liked what they did with like the whole player walkout, and it was like similar to, you know, similar treatment to what they gave Street Fighter, which was nice to see. So Supernoon, if people want to follow you on Twitter, where can they find you?
My is at the Supernoon on Twitter.
Awesome. There you have it, folks. He's an MVCI player, won Genesis 5 recently. Great stuff. But we're here to talk about more Marvel stuff, as it were. Just getting straight back into the game, Supernoon. I think one of the things I was curious about is, what do you, as a player, think about the current state of the game itself in terms of mechanics and how balanced it is, or whether you think some changes need to be made?
I would say, as a competitor, the game is pretty well balanced, I would say, but there's certain bugs that need to be addressed. Like, I won't get too technical with it, but there are a lot of there's a couple specific bugs that kind of hinder you while you're playing the game. In kind of like, Marvel's very scrambly, so there's like a lot of stuff happening, right? And it's very fast. And there's a lot of crazy things that happen, and there's a lot of like specific bugs that'll like store an input for example. So like if you were to get hit while the input's getting stored, you would you're not able to block, basically. So you're just your defense is kind of getting like shot down from a bug. So I'd say that's like one thing that definitely needs to get addressed if there is a patch coming.
Yeah, that seems like
in
a pretty big deal.
Yeah,
like
yeah, like it's not something that happens like, oh man, there's the bug that only happens every now and then. It usually happens like every other match. You know, it's pretty big.
Wow.
And it's really easy to tell too. Like if you know what we just call it the buffer glitch, because it kind of if you're buffering an input during like before you get hit, for example, after you flip out of the combo, it'll like release that input, sort of like negative edging it in a way. Yeah, so you can't really block. You just get that random input you didn't actually mean to come out. Yeah, so that sucks. But in terms of like characters and stuff like that, I would say this Marvel game compared to Marvel 3 is like, it's very balanced in the sense that everyone's pretty dumb. and they all have like really really dumb things that like everyone can do something, compared to like Marvel 3 where you only had like a Magneto with Zero, Morgan, Virgil, stuff like that. Yeah, like for example in this game, like you have Nova, who's just, I would say, is like one of the best characters, and then like Rocket Raccoon too just beats everyone. But they do have things that kind of do need balance. Like Rocket Raccoon definitely needs to be toned down a lot. So does Nova, and then like a couple other characters too. But there's just, I would say it's very balanced as a competitor. Like I've been able to, as someone who's been playing it since release, I've been able to just kind of like find answers to things. So there's nothing that's like outright terribly broken about the game. There's usually answers for everything. It's just kind of about putting in the work.
Oh, that's good. That's interesting because I remember like, peak Ultimate UMVC 3 days, like all you ever saw, it felt like, was just like Wesker and Virgil, and just like all you saw kind of the same characters over and over again. So it's good that this time around there's a bit more variation.
Yeah. Yeah, like Marvel 3 became... Oh, sorry.
No, you go on. Yeah. Marvel 3 became...
Yeah, Marvel 3 was very like Marvel 2-ish in a way, where like whatever was winning, you kind of just saw more combinations of that. Whereas like Infinite right now, there's a player for almost like every character, like there's someone playing some sort of combination using a different character. So it's very cool to see that, like that sort of variation even at a high level.
Yeah, I'd say that's almost rare for Marvel, given what we're used to. But do a lot of Marvel players have like a secondary game, or is Marvel kind of just like the main thing that you guys are focused on?
Well, I know a lot of, coming into the scene as a Marvel player back in like 2011, I know a lot of like Marvel only players. So I would say like a majority of the scene started from Marvel 3 coming from Infinite. So a lot of them only really know Marvel, but I know like a good amount do play other games. Like for example, like Apology Man, he plays like Smash, Street Fighter. He plays like everything basically,
Yeah.
Or like or like my good friend like Jabril, he plays Street Fighter. Like that guy's hella good at Street Fighter. But for myself, I would say 2 years ago when Street Fighter 5 dropped was like the first time I like played another game besides Marvel competitively, and now I'm playing Dragon Ball pretty seriously too. So yeah, I mean, I would say the majority of the scene doesn't have a secondary game, but I would say a lot more of the serious Marvel players do play other games, even at high level too. So it's pretty cool to see.
It's interesting that you bring up Dragon Ball FighterZ, because I feel like Dragon Ball FighterZ, in a lot of ways, and it's going to be real interesting to see this game at EVO as well, but in a lot of ways, it's almost kind of like taking over a space that is overlapping with Marvel. I would say is that a bit too, I guess, is that too much of a presumption to make, do you think, or do you see similarities between these two games?
I would say that Dragon Ball and Marvel are similar in some aspects, but not really gameplay. Like in terms of like someone who's played like Marvel 3 since the start from the end and now playing Dragon Ball, I would say there are things like I've learned from Marvel that give me a feel over most people in Dragon Ball, but I don't think the games are very similar at all, to be like quite honest with you. But I guess as a spectator rather than a competitor, you could just tell from the visuals that Dragon Ball and Marvel on paper are similar, right? Like 3v3 assist fighter, and like just it seems like a versus game, But I don't think it's really I don't think it could replace the spot that is Marvel, It's just it's like a weird it's kind of weird to kind of to see that happen, but I don't think it's really taking Marvel's spot. It just needs to it just basically needs time for itself to come into its own and see where the game ends up,
Yeah. I brought that up because I saw this like funny meme the other day that was like, I forgot who posted it. It was this YouTuber, this guy who does a lot of fighting game stuff, and he was like, he did a meme that was like people's reaction to the Evo announcement. And he was like, next up, we have this game that's like a team fighter and it's like really flashy, got a lot of visuals happening on screen. And basically he described what could have sounded like Marvel. And then he's like, it's Dragon Ball FighterZ. And it was just really funny to see. I was like, oh yeah, like I guess visually, like you say, from a spectator's point of view, like they're very similar, right? Like, just like visually and like mechanics from what you see happening and stuff like that on the screen. So it's just interesting. How would you encourage new Marvel players to get involved with the scene? So if someone is like at home listening right now and they're like, I play Marvel, I love the game, I want to learn more about the scene, what would you say to them?
I would say the internet is your friend. Like when I was starting, like I started playing Marvel, I think, when I was like 10 or 11. So just having the internet, you could go on, you could just Google like your city, just type in, MVCI scene, I guess, or like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite in whatever state you're in. Or even if you have Twitter too. Twitter nowadays is huge. Like everyone's always posting their tournaments, their meetups. People are very helpful. There are a lot of prominent like community figures too. I would say some people, I guess, you could talk to in the community. Like they're very friendly. Like you'd always shoot them a message or even like tweet them. I would say like Angelic on Twitter, Kinder Party, Persia too. Like these people always do their best to promote Marvel and to just help new players like understand like what's around them, what are their options and stuff like that in terms of playing and learning. And then I guess besides like the social aspect and learning about your scene, in terms of like playing and learning, I would say just be very open, and it's okay to lose a lot because it's gonna happen, especially in a game like Marvel. So like you just gotta be open to losing and just being okay with losing. That's a giant thing, and don't get angry. You gotta be very patient with this stuff. It's like learning any other like skill or trait. It's gonna take some time.
Yeah, so I think especially the getting angry thing, and this applies for all fighting games, right? Like it's easy to get tilted, and like, do people play Marvel online a lot? Is there like a
Yeah, I would say the netcode for this game is really good. Like especially for me, like for myself, I train like pretty much only online because like I'm going to college right now, right? So I'm stuck in my dorm, so I can't just like go to the meetups like every other day that there is in SoCal. So I'm sort of just kind of playing online with, like, I guess, back when the game came out, I was playing a lot with Apology Man, Kyle P, Jabril. Like, those are usually, like, my training partners. So, shout out to those guys. Yeah. The online's very good. So you can. Yeah, they're the homies. But, yeah, like, I guess using myself as an example, like, you can get good at this game playing online. It's, like, the online is actually really good, especially from, like across the country. Like I've played like Coach Steve online. He's in New York. I'm in California, and the connection was really good. So yeah, you can play online. So you can learn a lot from online since there's so many people playing. There's just like a plethora of like matchups you can learn and like different styles you can fight against. So it's really good to learn, I would say.
Interesting. Is there cross-platform online, or do you only verse people like on your own platform?
Yeah, it's only like PS4 to PS4 and PC to PC, stuff like that.
Oh, that's super interesting. Is there a way to talk to your opponents after you've had a match? Like, can you message them and stuff, or do you have to like add them on PSN?
I think you have to like add them. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I don't think there's like in-game chat. I don't think so.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting that you say the netcode's so good though, because I remember when I was playing Street Fighter online, like it sucked for like, I was versing someone on the East Coast, and I was like, this sucks. Like I hate it. That's why, I don't go online a lot in fighting games, because like it just tilts me really bad when it starts lagging.
No, yeah. That's why usually, like myself, I usually don't play ranked and stuff like that. If I do play online, it's usually just in lobbies with people I know. So that's kind of how I use it. I always just play like private lobbies with people, and just like practice what I need to and stuff like that, like decision making and stuff. But every now and then I'll hop in ranked and then hop off feeling really bad. It happens to everybody. It's not like, man, only scrubs get mad at ranked. Everybody gets mad at ranked. It's just a thing.
Right, online is crazy. Like anything can happen in online, and like you see the most random things as well. So I think it's a fun experience, and you learn a lot. Definitely.
Yeah, especially online tournaments. Those are the best. Online tournaments, man.
Is there a lot of online tournaments for Infinite?
Yeah, there's actually one this Sunday. It's like a tournament series. Actually, it's getting a lot of traction. It's hosted by somebody I mentioned earlier, Kinder Party, and like the whole Marvel Live crew. Those guys are hosting an online tournament through Team Spooky. So it's pretty good. Yeah, so like a lot of people are seeing it. So it's really good for Marvel, and it's good for a lot of the dudes who can't can't go to like a major or something like that. So they just play in this big online tournament, and it's for like a good amount of money. It's like a free to enter tournament for like $200 or something like that.
Oh, so shoot.
That's pretty good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, if people want to enter, where can they find out more information?
I would say to tweet at Kinder Party. That's the guy running it on Twitter. That's his @. I'm pretty sure it's at Kinder Party. Just ask him about ask him about the online tournament, and he can provide all the information regarding that.
Is this tournament called Lagstone?
Lagstone? No, I think that might be a different one. I'm not sure who's running that, but I have seen that on Twitter.
Okay, yeah, because this is another online tournament happening.
Yeah, I think this tournament's called like Online Warriors or something like that.
Okay, all right. Well, there you have it. There's more tournaments happening online for Marvel, more than you realize.
Yeah,
that's crazy. No, that's awesome though, and it seems like like people are putting in work to keep the scene alive, which is really nice. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, especially for like I said, the guys who can't travel. Like it's just good that even like they get a chance to shine, and they put in their work. But not everybody can travel, or not everybody has the opportunity to travel like some of us do. So it's good that they have their opportunities. Like.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And this is something that I've spoken about in the past for like Street Fighter tournaments. I think the CPT structure benefits people who are able to travel a lot and enter a lot of tournaments, because then you rack up points and stuff, and it's unfair for people who can't travel as much. So it's good that there is online support for Marvel, and hopefully the game and the scene keeps on growing. Like, who knows? It's really, really tough for Marvel fans right now, I think.
Yeah, it's hard for a Marvel player out here. It's hard. But yeah, it's pretty hard in these streets. But we're all getting by where we can. So there's support where we can find it. So it's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Supernoon. Really appreciate it. Really loved talking to you about Marvel as well. And best of luck. Hopefully I'll see you around again soon, dude, at the next big event.
Yeah. Yeah. See you soon.
See you soon. This is 1-2 Punch. If you like us, sub to us on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, everything. I don't know. My name is Zorine. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next week.
You're listening to the Fantasy Sports Radio Network.
Put up your dukes. It's time for a 1-2 punch.